Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. So I recently recorded a video about whether or not you were better off now than you were before the pandemic. I like to think I am, because of quite a number of new things that I did that I didn't even dream about during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I accumulated 4 new precious metals to my investment portfolio: indium, tellurium, bismuth, and I bought a half a kilogram of thallium. Thallium is a little bit trickier to store, and but at the same time, it has some potential in semiconductors. And of course, I added to my holdings of all that as well, and a little bit of copper as well. But most importantly are the 4 new elements that I accumulated. I also started making a lot of art out of bismuth. I'm going to try tellurium soon, I promise. I just don't want to mess it up because of how precious tellurium is, and when it's molten, it tends to make a mess of itself. And also, if you get into contact with it, it makes you smell really bad. And also, I took up a number of other recreational activities. I took up bowling at the beginning of the pandemic when we first reopened. My highest score, I think, was a 242, and I'm open to doing it professionally at some point. But I think the bismuth art has a much bigger potential of becoming a career. I also wrote a number of computer games. I submitted a publication to a conference in New York. Let's see if we can take a peek at it. Now, I'm a little bit torn because we get so little precious vacation time. It's not even specific to where I work. It's a shame how precious little vacation time we get in the United States. The average American has more bismuth than vacation days, right? That's a shame. It shouldn't be that way. We should have at least as much vacation days as we do silver or even copper, right? But we have about as much of it as bismuth. And then the conference has to take up a big chunk of it, right? So when I hit the submit button on the conference, it was like, I don't care either way. It's either going to help my career, or if it doesn't, as a consolation, I get to go on my trip to, I don't know, Yosemite or the Yellowstone National Park, right? As a consolation prize. The big prize is if I go to the conference and make a name for myself in my career, right? Now, I'm a little bit nervous about, part of the reason I've gone ape-shot crazy over bismuth is that I kind of learned the hard way that when you work for somebody, you got to follow all their so-called rules of how you live your lifestyle, your religion, and even though technically you don't have to, logistically you kind of do. I mean, it's really hard to not fit into the workplace culture, and I've learned the hard way that we're all being harassed little by little, right? Obviously, if somebody inappropriately touches you or makes a sexual advance on you, that's something that you can probably complain about. That's one thing, right? But the other, much more common form of harassment is not having inclusion because of slight differences, right? In eating habits, in relationship habits, in personal hobbies and all that, right? So when I want to go out to see a stargazing event, it's treated differently than when my colleague wants to go to a family kind of event. I was actually talking to a former coworker of mine, and she suggested when I call out for the next solar eclipse to say that I'm going to a wedding. And if I ever get caught, I could just say, oh, it was a wedding between the moon and the sun, right? That's what my coworker suggested I do. It might work, but it's a shame that we have to do that. Let's set the record straight. It works, but it's a shame we have to do it. And that's why I've been wanting to turn my bismuth into a career, because nobody will sexually harass me or comment on my ways of life over there, right? Even the clients that I deal with when I sell bismuth art don't make it a habit to do this, right? They usually enjoy hearing about my story, and that's good.